Hello guys, my name is Amit Sani and I welcome you in this daily Hindu analysis video in the morning. These videos come in the evening, MCQ lessons they come. 28th of November it is, and important issues, articles, facts we are discussing there. Pocket news are trending on Google Play and big announcements are in the line on the important app which is ready now for StudyIQ. Many courses are going to be launched, and this MCQ course of evening that will be taken up by Dr. Mahipal sir from December 1st, and I will be making some UPSC MCQ courses, and here you can call on these two numbers if you have any query regarding the payments or the new courses there. So PDF you will get on Telegram channel, whose link is given on this Facebook group, and you can follow me on Instagram too. Some words that I found today, and first issue, Cartosat 3 well placed in its orbit. 74th launch from Sri Harikota's Satish Dhawan Space Center. 49th flight of PSLV means 47th successful flight. 21st flight of PSLV in the XL configuration, that is the most advanced one. 9th satellite of Cartosat series. In 2005 this series started, and 9th satellite, the most advanced one. 5th launch by ISRO in 2019, so that's important. And 1625 was the weight of the satellite, so under 2K weight category, so that is why taken by PSLV. And the height, you must remember, low Earth orbit height 509 kilometer from the ground, because it is a Earth observation satellite, so high resolution cameras are there. The best camera on the satellite by any word is having a particular capacity of recognizing 10 centimeter huge thing on the ground. We have the capacity now for 25 centimeter, means we are one of the best now. Our Cartosat 3 can recognize a 25 centimeter long thing on the ground, so important addition in our capacity, especially for the military intelligence, for the cross-border operations there. For any military strategy, this will be the most important thing. We have policy there if the resolution is below 1 meter, and there it will have a lot of significance, so that's important. One article is also there for the same issue. We will go through that. Here you see more bang for the buck. ISRO should collaborate with the private sector to aid high technology manufacturing. You see, private sector is gonna span its wings. Budget is always a constraint, big constraint, because we are investing, but that investment is not like China's investment or America's investment. So it needs to expand its range, and it's an important service giver, especially in the small and medium sized satellites delivery. We have enormous capacity, and we are extremely professional in this area. We have proved to be so. So the best satellite image commercially available are between 25 to 30 centimeter, and we have that capacity now. So wealth of applications can be created out of it, and this will give us an important edge there. But if we are gonna expand in the private sector also, then certainly it will be a huge earner, and it's already a global entity, but in knowledge terms, experience terms, and the expertise terms, but not in the commercial terms. So it can reach up to those stages. As I told you, in all the remote sensing applications, it has a crucial role, like in the monitoring process of road construction, land erosion, forest conservation, any geological processes, mineral finding and all. So it has a great capacity to recognize all these things, to monitor all these things, and if they are gonna extend its capacity to the private sector, then it's enormous. NCERT is the commercial arm of ISRO. NSIL recently was established as a PSU by ISRO only. NSIL, New Space India Limited, a competitor to NCERT, but it is another public enterprise meant to commercialize space products and satellite development deals with private entities. So this article talks about the enormous potential of ISRO, and we need that environment in this country to raise those scientists who will lead this expertise, who will keep this area flourishing, and in the future we need those best minds there. So ISRO is making all the efforts, but budget is always a constraint. So for that, this private collaboration will be very, very important. Consistently we are delivering here, and all these best minds are getting recognized. Recently I discussed that issue yesterday. G Satish Reddy, he is given this honorary fellowship from the Royal Aeronautical Society, so he's DRDO's chairman. K. Sivan is also one of the best minds in this country, and these kind of people, they are making all the efforts and they should be appreciated always. And the most important thing, we have to create that scientific environment. We have to appreciate the scientific temper there. But this country looks like going in just opposite direction, where the youth majorly does not look much interested in this area. Otherwise it's a great career option. Being a scientist is the best thing for somebody's career, but for that we need that environment. It is not an easy thing, and it needs a lot of support. Overall ecosystem needs to be developed there. So ISRO is leading here, and that's important. Next, Australia to return 3 idols to India in January. You see, 2 Dwarpala door guardians from Tamil Nadu and 1 Nagaraja Serpent King statues, they were stolen from Rajasthan or Madhya Pradesh. And then the smuggler Subhash Kapoor, he sold it to the international market there. They ended up in National Gallery of Australia. Okay, but they recognized this issue, and now Australian government, during the Prime Minister Scott Morrison's visit to India in January 2020, they are gonna give it back to India. So return of artifacts underscores the world's debt to India's magnificent culture, history and legacy. That's important. You see, we have this great past, and these are the icons of it, and they tell the story that India was the best place in this world. But what about the present? What about today? How many of these kind of artists are working in this country? How much appreciation is there for these artists there? And how much originality is safe in this country? Only we are boasting about our past. That's a great thing, but we should continue these things. This was something best of this world we had, but what about today? Are we really in the mood to preserve these things, and are we really appreciating and promoting that culture? There is a big question for that. So that's why it's important, and it's a great thing that we are getting them back. And these kind of people, the Subhash Kapoor person, they are actually involved in a huge crime. It is not a simple stealing. It is actually downgrading the culture there, and telling the world that money is way more important, because this foolish person understood that money is way more important than this great art there. He failed to understand that because this was marvelous, that's why this much money is paid to him. So it's a changing moral situation, and because we are not able to secure all these things in this country, and the widespread corruption is there. So this shows the sincerity there, but we have a great threat on our past icons there. We have to preserve them, and this example is really good, and it is certainly going to boost the relation between India and Australia, because many things in the past, they were taken from India and now they are lying in some other country. If you talk about the Kohinoor diamond or anything else, these things are belonging to India, but they are not there in India. That's important. Next, India, a major gold smuggling hub. International NGO Impact, in its latest report, has said that India has become one of the largest gold smuggling hubs in the world. You see, according to the official estimates, we are importing huge amounts of gold, but that number is lesser than the actual import. Actually, we are importing 1,000 tons of gold per year, and around a quarter of official numbers, that is being smuggled. And you see, gold possibly tied to conflict. Conflict diamond is something you must have heard about. Conflict diamond means in Africa they mine these diamonds and all, and in countries like Sierra Leone and all, you must have heard about the blood diamond or the conflict diamonds. What are they? What are those diamonds, they are used in terror financing, and the mining that ends up financing those warlords, those extremist groups, and that's why these conflict diamonds are very much infamous. And the same is going on with gold also. It's always accepted in the international market there. It's a standard, so there is no problem in selling the gold or making payments in the gold. So that is why the smuggling is a huge menace now. The report said that 1/3 of the world's gold passed through India, identifying 3 primary factors for smuggling: tax breaks, falsified or origin documents, and complicit allies. These 3 big factors are there, that gold is being smuggled through India and it is ending up into various countries there. So that's the problem. Important for GS paper 3. Next, CIC not asked about RTI amendments. In July, we had this RTI Amendment Act. This was passed in the monsoon session without much discussion. This was not sent to any committee or something like that, and a very controversial move, and it was a big blow to the RTI institution. It was heavily reported by the Hindu newspaper. We had discussed this issue. Gave the center the power to determine the tenure, salary and perks of the state and center information commissioners. Means now they are going to do their duty according to the conditions, tenure terms set by central government there, and they reduced the tenure from 5 to 3 years, and this notification came in October. So downgrading their status and allowances and downgrading the RTI institution overall. So that was the biggest problem here and the most controversial issue there, because accountability is something which is the most important thing in our system, which is very corrupt system, and accountability is totally missing from the politicians aspect there. So that is why RTI is very, very important. Although some departmental disturbances are reported, but majorly it is there for the help of democracy. And seriously, if we will not have RTI today, then this will be a serious threat to the democracy. That's for sure, because in the last 10 to 13 years, we have seen a lot of improvements in the accountability issue due to RTI, and it's a great fear for these officials also. But here, one RTI revelation only, it told that it was not taken to the public, it was not taken to some experts or public intellectuals there and knew about them. It was not even told to CIC. Means he was not asked about the RTI amendments there. So it was not consulted regarding the RTI, and this revelation is done by an RTI application only. So that's seriously a problem. And one important article is there regarding the same issue, because Supreme Court has given a verdict on 13th of November, and that's really problematic. What it says, 13 November judgment on RTI reduced the scope of information and widened that of restriction. Means it has actually empowered these officials more than the people. Actually, just opposite should have been there. Means the people should be empowered, but here already the downgrading of RTI institution was there. The autonomy, the restrictions, and the conditions, tenor, all these came as a problem with the RTI amendment for the CIC, and now Supreme Court's verdict. RTI Act would never be the same after this verdict. Deviating from earlier decisions that said that restrictions should be interpreted strictly and information liberally, the 5 judges bench expanded the power, length and depth of exceptions under section 8 of the Act. Now more and more exceptions you will find there, and these are not vague things. Means indicatively Supreme Court has enlarged those exceptions. Means in many of the classes of information, officials will make the data or the particular information inaccessible to the public, and that will be very easy for the officials there. In this particular 5-6 lines, this is summed up. If the CIC's stature and autonomy were reduced by the recent Parliamentary Amendment Act, the Supreme Court judgment now amounted to a direct instruction to the central public information officers on how not to give information on various counts. So that is a huge problem. And you see, although they have upheld the apex court as a public authority, that's a good thing, and more transparency will lead to judicial independence, that's a good thing. But what they did here in paragraph 59, if we go through this paragraph carefully, then it can be easily used by bureaucrats to shoot down many RTI applications during the first request. And instead of empowering citizens with great access to information, the court has instead armed public servants only to kill access requests there. And Supreme Court is citing the precedent set by Supreme Court's 2012 judgment in the Girish Ramchandra versus CIC case, where they said that various CPIOs can deny information on records to public servants there. So it is now being superseded by this 13th November judgment, and you can see the reading of the aforesaid judicial precedent would indicate that personal records including name, address, physical, mental, psychological status all are treated as personal information. Similarly, professional records including evaluation reports, disciplinary proceedings, etc. are all personal informations. Medical records, information relating to assets, liabilities, income tax returns, all personal informations. Such personal information is entitled to protection from unwarranted invasion of privacy, and conditional access is available when stipulation of large public interest is satisfied. You see, the joke here means people cannot have the secrecy. Government can get any kind of information. They can go for any decryption of any message there, any mail there, and here they do not want to tell about the disciplinary proceedings. They do not want to tell about the evaluation reports. They do not want to tell about the qualification there. They do not want to tell about the medical reimbursements of the public officials. Means if any person is heavily corrupt and that person is making false bills, and if he is spending 5,000 rupees on medical bills, on medical expenses, and actually getting a reimbursement of 1 lakh rupees, then you cannot know about that, because Supreme Court said that these things will be private information. Disciplinary proceeding, they are needed in many cases to prove that some person is very corrupt person, but now you cannot get that. So if there is any large public interest, then only you can get that information. But you see, in this this kind of typical country, you prove something that it is very much publicly important, this is very difficult. So easily they can hide a lot of informations there, and the list is indicative, not exhaustive. Means according to the needs of these officials, any smart interpretation can be done there. Means according to their wishes, according to the need there. So that's why this is really important. And here you see restrictions. The bench's long list contradicts the provisions of disclosure available under section 8(1)(j) and 8(2) of RTI Act. Means these were available, these provisions were there, but now it is contradicting to this basic thing. How can the court declare educational qualification, performance report, or disciplinary proceedings pertaining to public servant as being outside an ambit of disclosure? As I told you, with these information only you can easily prove that some person is very corrupt person sitting on a public office. Similarly, if the cost of medical treatment is reimbursed by the state, how can medical record become personal information? So that is why it's a serious problem. And this article is also important for GS paper 2, a serious problem, and this was not expected from the Supreme Court of India. Although politicians, they will all go for these kind of issues, bureaucrats, they will all want all kinds of security, all kinds of secrecy there, because if they want to do any corruption, or if they do not want any disturbance, then surely they will hide all informations there. And all wrong things want secrecy. So whether you talk about the election bonds, or you talk about the corrupt practices, if these are there in the offices, which are surely there, heavily reported these things are, so they will always demand secrecy, and RTI is a major obstacle there. So a consistent attempt to destroy the RTI institution there, and now Supreme Court joins the rank there. Next issue, Lok Sabha passes bill to merge two UTs. Dadra Nagar Haveli and Daman Diu, they are going to be merged now. Lok Sabha has passed this bill. Now Rajya Sabha is going to pass that. And the Dadar Nagar Haveli and Daman and Diu merger of the Union Territories Bill 2019 seeks to provide better delivery of services and the citizens of both territories by improving efficiency and reduction in paperwork. So these advantages are given by the government as an argument. Next, government admits to gaps in data harvest. Here, smartly, government says that we are welcoming all suggestions there which can improve data quality there, and we have some data problems for sure, so they are accepting some things here. But the way this issue is going so light, and how the minister is smiling, and how the whole machinery is smiling there. Actually, this picture is not the recent picture there, it's a file photos, but the smile is clearly visible in the parliament also. The way they discuss these issues and how lightly they take these issues means they did not release the consumer expenditure data, then there is no problem. Means the data issues were there, so it is difficult for us to not declare this information. Means you are talking about a crucial information, a crucial database about the economy. This country is going through economic crisis, but this much they care. And now how lightly they accept that yes, there are gaps in data harvest, and we will improve that thing, and we are welcoming all those suggestions to improve it. And there were shortcomings for sure, but what is the issue of punishment there? Means who made the mistake there? These are not any person who is sitting by the side of the road and they are making some data. This is economy. There are important institutions. There is a whole system there, and there is an issue of accountability. If somebody is giving wrong, falsified data, then there must be some action. Why the action is not taken? Why the punishment is not there? If there is any data discrepancy, then why the punishment is not there? Who is responsible for that? And we need all the information there. What is this excuse that data problems, data quality issues were there, so we are not releasing that data? The same you did with the unemployment data, the same you did with the farmer suicide data. Now even the government says that these farmer suicide data are untenable. So they are denying those informations also. So what we can expect there? Serious problems are there. And you see, this is not something about the criticism of the government. It is something about the saving the democracy. If you do not have data statistics, if you do not consider that, and if you sideline all these issues so easily, then for sure you are not in the favor of preserving this democracy and progressing in this country. That's for sure. So that is why, if we are seriously concerned about this country, then we have to raise voice against these kind of things, and how lightly politicians pass these things. That should never be acceptable. But this goes on, and here you see a small country, Bangladesh, our neighbor. India is going into a direction where even on the most important public platform, people, politicians, officials are talking about the revenge methodologies. We are citing Israel's method here for the Kashmir issue, Kashmir Pandits issue. One important official at the international level, he talks like that. He says that we thought that the world is like us, the world is thinking like us, and we made mistake there to recognize people. Now we suggest Israeli model there. So what we are doing, more intolerant India today is, and more incidents of religious intolerance, people heavily blind about the religion issue. They do not see any rational logic in their approach, and they are ready to kill anybody, even in the name of cow, and they do not see any mistake there in these things. So India is moving backwards in a sense, and majorly it is happening in the youth of this country. That's really concerning. And here a country, Bangladesh, and maximum number of people, they are Muslims, but since Sheikh Hasina came, there has been cracking down on militant groups to preserve its image as a moderate Muslim nation. So the world is improving, small countries are improving, our neighbors are improving, but where we are going? You see, these people, they are getting death penalty for Dhaka cafe attack. Jamaatul Mujahideen Bangladesh group, they belong to this particular group, and they will appeal the verdict now. but many people, they have got death sentences in the recent times in Bangladesh, and they are performing very well in many indexes there. If you talk about the hunger index, if you talk about the GDP numbers, if you talk about the export area, everywhere Bangladesh is improving a lot. So we have to learn a lot from Bangladesh here, and how they are cracking down on extremist people, how they are not caring that they are also Muslims in a Muslim country. They are just considering that these people are extremist groups, and they are destroying this culture there, and they are bringing a bad image to the country. So that's why it's very important. Next issue related to police reforms, something which is badly needed in this country, important for GS paper 2 and 3 both. Police woes. If we talk about the excesses done by some police officials there, and if you talk about some corruption issues and all, then you should also talk about the basic problems there. And there is a rotting system out there. They lack basic infrastructure, they lack human resources, and the state of affairs is really gloomy. And this is a eye-opener data. You should go through that. Prakash Singh committee is heavily demanding these police reforms, and we need them as earliest as possible, but we are looking no sincere about these things, and these are going on. Heavy exploitation is also going on for the police department, and always they are working on the whims of politicians, and many problems we see with police department, but we are not understanding their core issues. And do they have autonomy? Then there is a clear no, because there is a political control for sure, always in the states by the state governments, in the central government there. So many issues, these are also genuine issues. We should go through that also. So this data is very much helpful there. Next issue, stubble burning issue. T. Nanda Kumar talks about a very crucial problem. Here he says that the problem of pollution in Delhi. You see, why this region? Because all around Delhi, Punjab, Haryana, Western UP, these are the areas which were benefited from the green revolution there. And canal system, the river network and all, they are also helpful there. And the groundwater exploitation, which was done in the last 4 or 5 decades, that became a menace for this capital region there. You see, some other issues like coal-fired ovens are going on all around Delhi. Coal-based industries are there. Coal-based power plants are working outskirts of the Delhi, and exponential rise in sport utility vehicles in the NCR. And these regions are great regions there. Diwali pollution was a great contributor to the pollution problem. But about the issue of stubble burning, we need to stop this practice for sure. That's a clarity. But how do we do it? Farmers do it out of economic compulsion, because they cannot afford any other method there. The city-centric argument is that Punjab now produces 25% more rice than what it did 15 years ago. That's reality, but it is good for the country but bad for Delhi. Supreme Court in a very strong voice said that you bring some explosive and you kill all these Delhiites there. That is better way, because this living in gas chamber is really suffocating every single second. So that's why we have to understand here that some problems are heavily discussed, and this is not a simple problem. Otherwise it would have been solved long ago, and this problem is rising every year here. You see, 3 options we should always understand. If we want to control the stubble burning there, then first thing, reduce paddy area production. In Punjab, originally it was not a rice or paddy producing area, but after green revolution and after this these canal system and the groundwater exploitation issues which improved, they started producing paddy and rice, and now it's a great contributor in this country's production. Rice needs a lot of water, so due to the heavy uses of water, they became extremely concerned about the groundwater depletion, because in the summers during April and May they use heavy water from the groundwater tables. That's why the timing they had to change, means they had to bring this Punjab Preservation of Subsoil Water Act. there exist strong arguments to prevent over exploitation of groundwater, especially farmers cultivate rice in April and May. So that is why they had to change this timing, and that is why due to that timing the harvesting is done and the stubble burning becomes necessary in this time when the winters are starting in the month of November, and the whole November is choked. If this would have been September, if this would have been starting of October, then there would have been no problem. But today it's a problem because it is coming into November, where all the winds they are stopped and no rains are there in NCR region, and that's why the city is choked. So the timing is also very big reason. And the paddy cultivation, that's the main culprit there. Next solution is there. Happy seeder technology is said to be a solution. You can see in the picture, this is happy seeder technology, and there are some conditions attached. First of all, this machine is only useful during this time. Otherwise, for the whole year, it will be lying idle there. So the investment you do there, that is only beneficial in this time. And other important conditions are attached. Means some extra knowledge of the soil should be there, and it should be done within 6-7 days. There is a limit. That means a lot of machines are needed. So a lot of investment is needed there, because it will be not useful if you come to the field after 7 days of harvesting. So that condition is also attached. So the issue of investment is a huge problem, because they will need many machines there. And the basmati rice that Punjab is growing there, and the rice potato areas, Punjab will need 20,000 of these machines, and in reality they will need much more than that, because if you consider basmati rice and potato area in the whole data, then you will need way more machines there. So the investment in these so many machines, which will be used only for these 7 to 10 days, then it becomes a huge condition. And that is why they are not relying on the happy seeder technology there. Otherwise it's a big helper. They do not need to burn the stubble there. So again, this comes to the government, this comes to the investment issue.